What is the worst thing you have found on someone else's phone? My now ex-husband dressing in my lingerie to send to other men. That one was a bit of a shock. Had a client showing me a picture of a haircut they wanted. I was hovering behind him as he was flipping through pictures, and the next one to the haircut ended up being what I assume was him. But his eye-hole wide open and googly eyes on his cheeks, bent over like the autograph mem. This was the day I learned never look at the phone until the customer has their picture up and ready. My ex-wife's iTunes on her iPhone was actually my account that I set up for my iPad. She was just too lazy to set up a new account. So I told her if she did that her iMessages would come through to my iPad. She said she didn't care, until she started cheating on me and I got the texts directly to my iPad. I used to work with a chick who took her husband's phone to work by mistake. While showing a bunch of people photos of her kids, she stumbled across a nature folder and clicked it. The folder was full of CP. I watched as the blood drained out of her face, and she became visibly pale and then sick. She threw up. I've never seen someone's emotions skin color change up so quick. It scared the shit out of me. I remember hearing her scream and cry while talking to the cops. When her husband arrived with her phone, they slapped the cuffs on him, and he confessed on the spot. An old friend of mine called me frantically requesting I come to his house because he needed a witness. He feared his then-wife was about to call cops and accuse him of domestic violence. I could hear her in the background screaming, "Jose, don't believe him." I don't live close, but I was concerned and drove over. They live in a cul-de-sac, and I could hear the screaming before I got in the door. When I opened the door, he was at the top of the stairs trying to explain she is crazy. She was trying to explain that my friend is a pervert. So, of course, my immediate thought was he must have been caught fucking around. Well, to my shock and disappointment, she managed to yank the phone from him and she immediately started scrolling to pictures. She had to show me to convince me that my buddy I have known for over a decade is a pervert. She showed a dick pic. I was like, gross, but okay. That isn't me. Which made me even more uncomfortable because now my buddy is admitting to receiving dick pics. No. He had taken the picture and had sent it to his wife's coworker's daughter. She was 12. I had always believed that had I ever confronted a child predator, that I would fuck him up. I didn't. Instead, I made sure his wife was able to call the cops without him trying to stop her. The end. I was a personal assistant to an older gay man who ran a fancy event planning company. He was technologically challenged, so he eventually asked me to manage his emails, calls, schedule, etc. One day he asked me to help him with his personal laptop, because it has a bunch of viruses, or something. His computer was 90% corn. His search terms and videos of choice were old young gay sex stuff, and he was basically searching my physical description plus gay sex into porn sites. I was weirded out but kept working for him until he passed away. He may have been a weirdo, but he was a good boss, and in the end, I considered him a good friend. Everyone has weird kinks in my opinion, and he was never inappropriate with me, so I didn't see it as a deal breaker. Oh God. My 75-year-old father loves the ladies. He got a new girlfriend a few years ago and went to show me some real estate listings. She texted him, and the text image avatar for her is clearly her naked in a shower. I handed the phone back and said, "Hey, Dad, you need to be more careful with this." He claimed not to have any idea what I was talking about despite there being a tiny photo of his naked girlfriend right there on his phone. I said something to her directly the next time I saw her so she could tell him to be more careful, and she was mortified. And this was the second instance of Dad inadvertently sharing naked photos of whoever his then girlfriend is with me. The first was even worse. He had it saved as the wallpaper of his phone, and from the 1-second glimpse I had of it before my eyes burst into flames, the nice lady appeared to be mid-blowjob. There's so many comments here, so mine will probably be buried, but I'm going to share anyway. One day I came home after a night out to my boyfriend. He knew I was going to be up super late, and so he had left his laptop out for me to watch Netflix when I came back. I was watching Friends or something when, around 5 a.m., a text message popped up on his screen. It said, "Yeah, but now you're dating her." I clicked the text immediately, and it opened up to a conversation he had been having with his ex-girlfriend for months. It began before he and I even started dating, when we were still in the talking phases. Every secret I had ever told him, every trauma I had ever disclosed to him, he had texted to her while I was sleeping, to make fun of me and call me names. Listen to what the crazy bitch told me today. He would say, telling her all the details of the extremely private things I had told him, all while telling me to my face he loved me, wanted to marry me, couldn't wait to grow old with me, etc. It took years for me to trust someone and date again after that. It was so hard to open up again, but lots of therapy helped. Oh boy. So I worked for Bell Mobility for a couple years, just when smartphones outside of BlackBerry line were becoming mainstream. This takes place around fall 2010/winter 2011. So I had a guy come to the desk with his Android phone that was glitching out and having trouble connecting to data. So I took the phone from him and told him the first thing I'd have to check is the phone's cache and internet files. Maybe it just needed to be cleared. His face went 10 shades of red. Did it ever need to be cleared? It seems the only thing this man used his phone for was porn. He had every CRN app you could think of, close to 100 at the time, and his cache files were a couple thousand lines of porn site cookies and cache. Not to mention almost all those apps were running in the background. Okay. Starting clearing files. Took about 15 minutes since this was before there was a clear all button feature added. Then I went and made it so none would run in the background. Gave his phone back with the instruction to check settings for apps running in background and regularly clear his cache unless he felt like he could offload some apps. Also, incognito mode would probably help preventing so many cache and cookie storage files. TLDR. Man had a phone full of porn. I felt like I needed a sanitizer bath after helping him. It's not the fact that he had porn. It's the fact that it was so much of it. A couple of years ago I made friends with this guy at uni. He was always the outcast and he had come from South Korea with no friends or family. So I made a point of having lunch with him, and eventually we would hang out every now and again and go sightseeing around Sydney. One day he was showing me a picture of his mother's birthday cake, and down the bottom I could have sworn I seen multiple pictures of what pajamas I had been wearing the night before. I didn't want to outright demand to see the pictures as it is just so outlandish that someone would take multiple photos of you sleeping on their lounge. Later on that day he ducked off to the bathroom and left his phone on the table. I grabbed it and looked at the photos, and there was a fucking album with my name, and I'm talking at least 100 photos I had no idea he had taken, including pictures up close of my chest and butt. He came back, I still had his phone in my hand, and he knew exactly what I was looking at. I felt something snap inside of me and very calmly and eloquently told him what a fucking creep he was, deleted the photos and jumped on the next train home. My ex and I were sick with COVID in August 2021. Our relationship was already crumbling. I was taking care of him as he was in a way worse condition than I was. When he fell asleep, I went on to cover him with a blanket and noticed that his phone was unlocked and a video was playing on YouTube. I took the phone and wanted to put it away. However, something inside me told me to check the phone. I opened his WhatsApp and found out that he was going on dates on Saturday nights when I was serving at a restaurant. One of the texts included him talking to a married woman who said, "I loved sucking your dick in the car," including some intimate pictures from him and her. When I confronted him, he denied and called me delusional lol. I kicked him out of my apartment the same hour. I was heartbroken, but this was needed. I am happy we went our separate ways. A former friend of mine, who is also a small-scale influencer, has a hidden album that has like 10,000 plus of peen pics on her phone that she's collected over the last few years. There's so many. No exaggeration. She literally downloads and saves every single one she's ever gotten. And then she would just randomly offer to show other people. That was one of the many and least dramatic reasons we are no longer friends. I had two very different stories depending on how this question is asked. On my manager's phone when I worked for a wireless kiosk at the mall, he asked me to clean it because it got messy while he was watching porn on it. As far as otherwise, at that same job I had a woman and her husband upgrading their phones together. They shopped the mall while their data was transferring. Hubby was getting some pretty explicit messages from someone labeled work. I used to work in a small, 20 people, professional's office. It was all cubicles divided by low partitions. One afternoon, I went to the men's bathroom and right on top of the urinal, someone had left a phone with a porn video still playing. I told the number 2 guy in the office, who was kind of a joker, so he announced to the entire room, "Has anyone lost their phone?" No surprise that it belonged to a moron part-time student intern. Hilarious. My best friend had been dating a girl. One day I had his phone as I was fixing it for him. I was a bit of an entrepreneur, maybe not. Guy in school, I always was fixing things, selling stuff and so on. Anyway, after I fixed the screen on his phone and camera, I went through some motions on his phone to make sure the screen still worked. I took a photo and then went to photos and saw everything was good. I accidentally swiped again and saw a video. He used to make lots of Parker videos back in the day, so I assumed it was one of those. It wasn't. It was a video of him forcing himself onto his girlfriend. And there were loads. All of them. She looked like she was crying in the brief snapshots I saw of them. I deleted them all off his phone and told him I had to wipe his phone because of some stupid reason. He was really angry and asked if he could get his videos back. His girlfriend at the time suddenly looked really relieved and quickly ran away. He stood there for a moment before turning to me and asked if I wiped his phone on purpose. I said I did. I saw and that we are no longer friends. Turns out he used those videos to control her. I never considered myself to be tough or strong, but I felt quite proud at the time. Part of me wishes I'd hit him, but I think I saved someone maybe. We never spoke again. He moved schools as I think he was afraid I'd tell people. My then BF had been baselessly accusing me for months of cheating on him, which only made me suspicious of him. I also woke up in the middle of the night more than once to find him not at home. One day he left his phone with me and my paranoia won out. Found messages, even from that same day, to different prostitutes trying to solicit sex. Ended up staying with him for a while but couldn't stop being paranoid and checking his shit. Found out he had been cheating on me our entire relationship with prostitutes and FWBS. Tried to, and most likely succeeded in, having a threesome with my gay best friend at the time, etc. I'd never been cheated on before and it absolutely broke me, especially considering he knew I'd just had a huge falling out with my friend group a couple of months prior and was in a really dark place. He saw me struggling and instead of helping me get through it, he got pissed at me for being upset and tried to spin it as we hadn't been paying attention to each other for a while. Who knows whether he bothered to wash up before coming back to me and letting me kiss the same lips that had been on someone else, or whether he used protection with these random girls. I ended up basically losing my mind. I crept on his laptop and checked his history constantly. Muffer was jacking off to porn on his lunch breaks at work, and found a bunch of his profiles on Tinder, Bumble, premium accounts on websites like XNXX, Pornhub, escort websites, you name it. Oh, and I'm pretty sure he uploaded pornographic videos of US, mostly of ME, but they had been deleted. It was right around the time when Pornhub was cracking down on non-consensual videos being uploaded. The only evidence I could find were broken links on Google, but I could still see the name of the videos, and it was pretty damning. He had multiple accounts on Pornhub as well, not on his phone, but on his computer. Pornographic images of myself, from before I ever met him. He was a computer repair person that worked in the same building as me, providing IT support. He was nice and did a good job, so one day I brought a gaming computer to him to be serviced. Job is done well. I'm happy. A year or so later, I'm dating computer repair guy. When I see pornographic images and videos of myself from before I ever knew him. Turns out, while he was working on the computer I had serviced, he found all of the images and videos of me that I had exchanged with a long-distance boyfriend. He liked me and liked what he had found, so he saved all of them for his own personal use. I did not know or think that anybody would snoop through a computer's files. I expected cleaning and virus checks to help it run faster. I suspect he's audited out. People suck. Work at a tech repair place. Dude brought a dead water-damaged phone from his 12-year-old daughter that just went on a school trip for a week, so we can save the photos from it real quick. The software scrolled trough, each one as it pulled them out, and let's just say those kids had a real grown-up trip, as we all went dead quiet embarrassed turning our heads from the screen. Dude paid without saying a word and practically ran out. My house got robbed and I was sitting with the cops while they were taking my statement. I was about to show them pics of some of the damage I took before they got there when a guy I was dating texted me dick pics at the exact same time I was unlocking my phone. So I showed two police officers the guy's dick,